Hey guys, it's Kristi. Welcome to my channel. I have done my share of moving in my lifetime between college, where I had to move in and out every semester, being a teacher where I had to move in and out of my room every year, and then all of the moves that Whitney and I have made. We are currently living in our 7th house, and our last 4 moves have been across country. So let's just say I have a little experience with moving, and in fact, I consider myself an expert in the subject. So when one of you asked me to do a video on moving across country, I knew I had to jump on it and do this for you. So I'm gonna be sharing with you my best tips and tricks for moving, and I'm gonna do this over a couple of videos because it's just too much information to put into one video. Today's video is gonna be all about packing, everything you need to know, whether you are packing yourself or whether you are having movers pack you up. If you find this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, I'd love to have you hit that subscribe button and join our community. All right, let's jump into the tips. And I have to say the first tip is gonna be the most obvious one. It's what everybody is gonna tell you to do, but I really cannot stress it enough. It is probably the most important thing you can do when you're getting ready to pack everything up, and that is to purge. Make sure you purge, then purge some more, and then purge some more. I can't emphasize this enough, because the more you purge, the less money it's gonna cost you to move, and the less time is gonna be involved in your move throughout the entire process. So take the time now, as soon as you know you're moving, start the purge process and be relentless with it. Get rid of things that you know you're not gonna use, and if there's things that you have not used in a couple of years, go ahead and get rid of them, and think of it as a time where you can bless other people, because a lot of times you have items that you are not using anymore, you haven't used in a long time, and you no longer have the use for them, but you can donate these items to organizations which will get them to the right people. I love to be able to donate things to women's shelters. This last time when we moved from Alaska, there was a nonprofit organization that would take old items and repurpose them and sell them, and they use that money to then donate to other nonprofit organizations, and I loved that. So look for types of things like that in your area where you can donate, you know it's going to a good cause, or if you have people you know that might be in need of these items that you have, then donate to them, ask them if they're interested. Purge as much as you can. The less items you take with you, the less it's gonna cost on the move, and then it's also gonna save you a ton of time on the back end. Once you move and you're unpacking, it's less things that you have to unpack. So just invest the time now and get rid of as much as you can. I'm telling you, you will not regret this one. My second tip for packing really applies if you are packing everything yourself, but even if you're not and you're using a moving company to help you pack, which we have been fortunate enough, most of the times that we've moved, it's been with companies, and they have hired the moving company to pack all of our stuff as part of the package that we had for moving. But if you're not so fortunate and you're having to pack everything yourself, then you're gonna need supplies. So make sure that you are investing in the proper supplies. I really can't stress enough that one either, that the supplies you use really do matter. For example, I don't like bubble wrap. A lot of people suggest that you get bubble wrap and use that. Number one, I think it's expensive, and number two, when items have been broken in my moves, like for example this last move, one of my most precious items got broken. It was a beer glass that my husband's father had owned, and it was wrapped in bubble wrap instead of the paper that the movers use, and that was one of the very few items that actually got broken. So invest in proper packing paper, invest in the boxes, invest in some Sharpies that you're gonna need to label everything. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at my note just to make sure I don't leave anything out. You're gonna need tape. So get all the supplies that you need before you start, and overestimate how much supplies you need, because you don't wanna have to keep running back and forth to get things. Now, when it comes to boxes, I know that there are stores like Costco and Walmart who, if you go and ask them for boxes, they are a lot of times more than happy to give you some of their extra boxes when things have come in. Tip number 3 goes along with tips 1 and 2 to a certain degree, and that is to measure everything. So if you are fortunate enough in your move to be able to know the home that you're moving to, then make sure that you measure all of your furniture while you're house hunting. So when you get to your new house and you're deciding on what house you're gonna buy, you can measure the furniture. We did that when we moved into this house, and that was one of my criteria when looking for a new house. I wanted to make sure that at least certain pieces of my furniture would fit in the house. If we had found a house where our furniture was not gonna fit before we even moved, I would have known which pieces of furniture I just needed to go ahead and purge before we ever moved. Because remember, the more you can purge before you go, the better. And sometimes that is gonna be larger pieces of furniture, especially if you happen to be downsizing. Take all your measurements when you're looking for your new home. Make sure that you have all of that written down. With our phones now, it makes it so handy. Bring a measuring tape with you when you go house hunting so you can make sure you know exactly what you need and if your belongings are gonna fit in that house. And if not, you know what to do. My next tip is also something you're gonna wanna do before you actually start the moving process. And that is to separate out anything that you don't want packed while everything else is being packed. So for example, if you're packing yourself or you're having friends come and pack you still wanna do this, and you especially wanna do this if you're having movers come in and pack you, because you want them to be well aware of what things don't get packed, at least until the last minute. So what I always did is I would go in my master bathroom and in my kitchen especially were two of the areas where I would say I would have a couple of drawers or a couple of cabinets that were not gonna get packed, and I would take everything out of those cabinets, drawers, move them to other locations, and only keep in there what I really needed. So maybe a few towels in there, maybe my toothbrush and makeup and those types of things, all in those couple of drawers and cabinet. And then I would use painter's tape. So I would just put a little piece of painter's tape to mark those cabinets so that anybody going into that room to pack would know not to touch those drawers or those cabinets. I would also do the same thing in the kitchen. I would take a couple of drawers and a cabinet, take everything out, move it to someplace else, and then just put in there the things that I knew I was gonna need till the very last minute. And I either did not want them packed at all, because there were some things when we were moving, especially between Texas and Alaska, when we've moved, we were in each house without furniture for bits of time on each end of the move, because it takes approximately 4 to 6 weeks to get your furniture in a move like that. So knowing that, I would keep out some silverware and some, a couple of maybe plates that I was gonna end up getting rid of, or things like that that I knew that I was gonna need and I did not want them packed. And by simply putting a little strip of painter's tape on each of those cabinets, the movers always knew, and even if it's friends or family that's helping you move or helping you pack, then everybody will know not to touch anything that are in those drawers. Another thing to consider before you ever start the packing process is the things that you're gonna need to take with you. And you wanna go ahead and separate out all of your valuables and any clothes or other items that you're gonna need to actually take with you in the move. And like I said, especially if you're moving across country or somewhere like that, where you're gonna have, whether it be a couple of days to several weeks, where you're living in the house without all of your belongings with you, if it's gonna take a while for them to kind of catch up to you, then you wanna make sure that all of your jewelry, all of your important documents, passports, social security cards, birth certificates, all of those things are with you. So when moving from Texas to Alaska, I always kept a carry-on suitcase that I would take with me on the plane, and in that suitcase, I always had all of my jewelry, and I always kept all of my important documents. Make sure you pack that suitcase up before the movers or your friends or family, whoever's helping you pack, ever come, and also make sure that's got painter's tape on it so they know they are not touching that suitcase, that everything that's in there is gonna be going with you, and they know not to pack that. So this tip is also a preparation tip, and it's really important, especially if you're moving long distances. If it's at all possible, and I know it's not always feasible to do this, but if at all possible, and you can bring some things ahead of time, especially if you're gonna have to live for any length of time, like I said, you know, kind of house camping, which is what I call it, where you're in a home on either end of your move without all of your furniture. And in every move we've done, I've had to have days where I'm in the house for at least a few days once everything's gone, and then on the other end of the move in the house for up to, you know, 4 weeks to 6 weeks without furniture. So in those cases, you're gonna need lots of clothes with you. You're gonna need other types of items just to kind of make it in the house. So what I like to do is bring things ahead of time. So for example, if we were moving to Alaska the second time that we moved back there, we already had established friends there. And so when Whitney would go for work or when we went house hunting, we would actually pack a suitcase and bring it to leave at their house, knowing that we'd pick it up when we got there. That way we already had things there that we knew we were gonna need. We did the same thing when moving back to Texas this last time. Whitney had come a couple of times early, so he brought back a couple of suitcases with him every time he would come back here. So we knew we would always have that stuff here. So you've done all the prep work, you have purged, you have gotten all of your supplies ready to go. So now where do you start? The very first thing you need to do is designate about a medium-sized box that you label parts. This is very important. This has been one of the best tips I've gotten from professional movers as we've had people come in and pack our house. They always create a parts box, and it is a lifesaver. So what goes in this box is exactly what it says. Parts, and these are going to be parts from every room in your house. So one of the main things that always goes in the parts box are all of your remote controls from all of your TVs. Any little bits and pieces of things that are components of other things will go in this box. So for example, we have an ottoman that has wheels on it. So you take the feet off of that gets wrapped up together and put in the parts box. So all of these little things that you're gonna need when it comes time to start assembling things again, when you get to your new location, all of those things go in the parts box. So that way when it's time to put all the feet back on your furniture, they're all in the parts box. Whenever you're ready to put your TVs up and you're looking for all the remote controls, they're in the parts box. And that could even include the little screwdrivers that go with things that you need to screw back on into place. And speaking of screws, that's something else that would go in your parts box. Screws that go on a piece of furniture, your bed frames, things like that. Put them in a little baggie, put them in the parts box. And having all of those pieces in one place is really gonna be a lifesaver when it's time to start assembling all of those things, because you're not hunting all over. Where is this one? Where is that? You might have 10 bedroom boxes or more that you're having to unpack, and you don't wanna be digging through all those boxes to see where the screws are for your bed frame. So those types of things all stay together in the parts box for the entire house, and at least you know they're all in one location and you can have easy access to that box. My next tip applies if you are using a moving company, but even if you're renting a moving truck of some sort, they might have some regulations as well. And that is, check with the movers to find out what items you are not allowed to bring with you. Because in every move, especially if you're using a moving company, there are gonna be certain types of items, like certain cleaning products, Things like if you have guns, you're not gonna be able to pack the ammunition for the guns. Things like that, you wanna know ahead of time what you can and can't bring with you. So things that are flammable, a lot of times you're not gonna be able to pack it. So if you did like painting and you have a lot of paint that maybe you used in this house you wanted to bring to the next house, you're likely not going to be able to do that. So certain things it's because they don't want to risk it spilling in the truck, and then other things it's because it could be flammable or just dangerous if something happened. So you want to make sure that you are clear on what all of those things are so you can get rid of those things ahead of time. And there might be things that you can sell or things that you can just give away and purge as you're doing all of your purging. If you're packing yourself, then you really want to pay attention to this next tip, and that is pack heavy items in small boxes and light items in the larger boxes. I know, we kind of want to just pack things in these big boxes thinking it's going to make it easier, but keep in mind if things are heavy, you want smaller boxes. When I would move in and out of my classroom every year as a teacher, had tons of books and things like that, and even though it meant more trips back and forth to my car, and I did most of those moves all by myself, but you still want to pack heavy things in as small boxes as possible because it just makes it so much easier to carry. Now my next tip goes along with that. So when it comes to transporting things and carrying the heavy things from your house, you want to get the right equipment. You will notice if you've ever seen professional movers, they a lot of times have certain equipment that they use, or if you've seen people bring appliances into your home or something, they might have shoulder straps that they use. I'm gonna put some links in the description box below of some shoulder straps that help with moving heavier items like washing machines, dryers, refrigerators. And then also don't underestimate the benefit of using sliders. We use them all the time in our home just to move furniture around within the home, and for moving they help also. You can even put boxes on sliders and at least slide them out of your house if it's heavier boxes. So invest in some equipment that will help make your move easier. My next tip is to take pictures. Guys, take pictures of everything. Pictures of things like your TV hookups and your electronics, all the cards. You can take pictures to see which cards were hooked up where, so it makes it easier when you have to rehook everything up. Another thing that you can take pictures of are the serial numbers on all of your more expensive items. Make sure that you do that so that if anything were to happen, you have those serial numbers for the insurance company. Anything you can think of, take a picture of it before you start the packing process, or during the packing process as you're going, take pictures of things as necessary, because some things you might not have access to, like behind the TV for the way it's hooked up or different things like that. But as you're going, just take a few minutes and take pictures of things. My next tip is really helpful if you are moving a refrigerator or a washing machine, anything that has had water in it. So first thing you're gonna wanna do is make sure that you empty out the refrigerator, freezers, things like that. Make sure that you give them time to defrost. Make sure that you have plenty of time to drain the water out and kind of let it dry out as much as possible if it's anything that, like with an ice maker or with your washing machine. When these things are all ready to go and the water's been drained and dried out and you're ready to pack it up, to keep them from getting all musty smelling, take a stocking, cut the end off of the stocking, stuff it with some coffee beans, tie it up, put it inside your refrigerator, inside the freezers, inside your washing machine, and it will help keep all of those things from smelling musty. And it might smell a little bit like coffee beans when you get to the other place, but that's no problem. It really does help keep those refrigerators, freezers, washing machines from smelling moldy and musty from the water. Do that one for sure. My next tip is another obvious one, sort of like the purging, but it really can't be stressed enough either, and that is the labeling. Make sure you label every single box. Label with what room it's coming from, what room it's going to, because those don't always match up. Things like the kitchen, most things that come out of your kitchen are going back into your kitchen, but that's not always the case. If it's a bedroom or something like that, things are going to be different. So if you have 4 bedrooms, make sure you are very clear on which bedroom is which. Bedroom, you could number them 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, write master bedroom on the master bedroom. If you have kids, you could write the kids' names on their rooms. So make sure everything is labeled so that when they bring things in on the other side of the move, they know exactly what room to bring it to. You could even use different colored tapes or things like that to color code so that they know where to bring things into the new home. Also, don't be shy about labeling things that, specific things that are in each box, because if you have 20 boxes in your bedroom and you're looking for one little thing, it would be helpful to know what box it was in if it's written on that. So take the time now while you're packing. If you're, like I said, if you're having people come in and pack for you, they're usually pretty good about it, but make it very clear to them how you want things labeled, and don't be shy about even just kind of going in and kind of checking every now and then, making sure that they are writing clearly what is in the boxes so you absolutely know when it comes time to unpack. My last tip when it comes to packing is to mark the things that you know you're gonna need first when you move into your new home. So clearly mark the bedding boxes so you know you have access to your bedding, and anything else that you know you're gonna need right away. If there's a few kitchen items, put those in a box separately, mark them, and then make sure that your movers, or if you're doing it yourself, that those things get put in the moving truck last, and that way those can be the first items out of the moving truck. So whatever you know you're gonna need immediate access to in the new home, those are the things you want to pack up last. All right guys, these are some of my best tips when it comes to packing. I hope you found them helpful. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And remember, I am going to be creating another video that's going to come out next week with more moving tips, and these are just going to be more general moving tips. So make sure you're subscribed with your bell notification turned on so you won't miss that video. Catch you in the next one. Bye guys.